Okay, we will go ahead and get started for all of those that are here close and on time. Welcome to April's NSO membership meeting. I just have to reorientate myself to Zoom since I use Microsoft Teams during the day at my real job, and they don't quite function the same. Okay. Tonight we're going to do some video clips. Then want to talk about tournaments a little bit. Our tournament season has changed, as well as there's some new ones. And so I want to make sure people are starting to get these on their calendars because there are lots of tournaments this summer, and I don't even have them all, I don't think. And then, of course, we always want to leave it open for questions. So first, I thought we should review some of the considerations in regards to careless, reckless, using excessive force, violent conduct before we watch our first couple of clips. So I'm going to give you the cheat sheet. And so when we go and watch our clips, hopefully everybody will get the answers correct. So hopefully this should all resonate with everyone. Looking to see if a lack of attention or consideration when making the challenge. Act with a complete disregard of the consequences of the challenge. Is the opponent being put in a dangerous situation? Does the player use brutality against an opponent when challenging? Is it endangering the safety of the opponent? What's the intensity of speed on the tackle? Is there malice involved in the challenge? Is there lunging towards the opponent? What direction are the tackler's feet pointing? Do we have studs involved? Are they making the charge in a fair manner? Are they using their arm as a tool or a weapon? And the last one there is, does the player challenge for the ball in a fair manner? I think I hear lots of great mentors always talk about is what you're observing fair to the game. Okay, so everyone's gonna have to bear with me here a little bit as we hit clip 1, and then we will go to a poll. So here we go with clip number 1. Okay, I'm going to guess people are going to want to see that again now that you know where the foul's going to occur. So we will play it another time. Okay, now everybody's seen that okay? Did I lose everybody?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Richard Kruger said to everyone, no. So
Okay, so now we're gonna launch the poll. Everybody gets a chance to say, sorry, this is labeled incorrectly, but how many people have a foul and how many people have no foul?
I can't vote. Ooh.
You can't vote.
Mm-mm.
That's because you're the president. President only votes when there's a tie.
President's only in a tie. Okay. Fair enough.
Is other people having voting problems?
I also cannot vote, but I am a co-host, so I'm pretty sure it's just the co-hosts and hosts that can't
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah,
Sounds.
I guess that would be a good pattern there. Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
I'm going to end the poll, and I think theoretically we would, oh, I even get to select share the results. Is everybody able to see the results?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 10 for a foul, and we have 4 not for a foul. Let's start with those that felt it was a foul. Using the considerations we covered, what considerations did you use to come up with a foul?
Created space by pushing off.
By pushing off?
Yeah.
So when you say by pushing off, Elmer, what part of the body pushed the player off?
It was brought the elbows up and created the space and the advantage to get the ball.
Okay. So you felt from the movement of the elbows, they were creating the space to knock the player off the ball and create the foul.
Yep.
Anybody who selected a foul have something else they want to share as their considerations? Nope. Okay, so let's go. There's 4 of you that said no foul. Any one of you want to explain why that you didn't feel like it was a foul? Nope. Okay, I'll explain why I don't think it's a foul.
I think Walston family might have had something to say there.
Yeah, I guess I could share my piece. First off, it's really choppy video. I don't know if it's supposed to be smooth video, so it's really hard to tell. But in my mind, it didn't fit, I guess, the criteria that it showed, and it was more of just kind of an equal challenge. Yeah, the guy kind of was pushed off a little bit, but I think if we called every single one of those in a game, would be calling fouls every 20 seconds. I don't know. I didn't see, at least again in the choppy video, I didn't see like a push or like a extended arm shove out, but either way, I think it wasn't. I think it was just in the normal play of the game.
Okay. Perfect. That's what I was going to say. Okay. Now we're going to go to video 2. And I want to remind everyone we're in the same game as you're making your next decision here. Okay, we want to see that again.
Sure.
Okay. Let me go back here and throw the poll.
Richard, just to be clear on the first one, did the referee call that a foul or not a foul?
I will get to that for you, Jeremy.
Great.
Let me see here.
We still have the old poll up, if that means anything.
Yeah. Whoops. I would now. Oh, now I really did something.
Connor, I would say you can change your answer based on new information, right? Within the match itself, though, what do folks always want? Consistency. So if you're going to call something, start calling something one way in a match, by golly, call it in the match.
Okay, I've got a few less people that voted so far.
Yes, Brad, my head would explode too. It's not how I roll.
Okay, well, I'm gonna end the poll. And here I'll share the results. And this time we've got 9 people who have a foul and we have 5 people who don't have a foul. Who's going to give us their considerations on why they thought it was a foul?
I will jump in. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. Go, Brad.
Fantastic. Everything I observed in that challenge made me feel as though the player was not initially interested in getting the ball there. He wanted to put his weight up against his opponent to draw him away from the ball in order to gain an advantage. And I felt as though that was unfair.
Okay. Anybody who called it a foul, I'm sorry. Anybody who called it a foul want to add to Brad's explanation?
So for me, it looked like the contact was more in the back rather than the side.
Okay. Any other okay, those that said no foul, who'd like to talk about why they would let this one go? Come on, one of the 5. Craig raised his hand. He's so polite. When did you start that, Craig?
Well, obviously, I probably wouldn't have called the first clip a foul either, and trying to be consistent with the level of contact that I'm allowing in the game. Just from this video clip, it appeared that the contact was shoulder to shoulder, and that both players saw each other in the contact. So it wasn't like a blindsided collision, and that the anticipated play there is going to be physical, is going to be body on body, and neither player reacted after the contact. So I would have said that given that, that neither player expected a foul to be called.
Okay.
Can we run that again, Richard? Actually,
Yeah.
Because remember, we're white's going in, right?
Correct.
Blue's going out. Where does this challenge happen? Right here at the edge of the area, right? So, does this influence anybody's decision? You're going to give a penalty for that if you're calling a foul, right? Look where the contact happens. Right there, right?
Oh, yep.
So you're in the area. So are you going to give a pen there? And so we talk about considerations too, of like pre-games, whatever. Whether we talk Dr. Mo's happy places, right? Going out, it's going to be easy, right? If the roles are reversed, heck yeah, it looks like contact. Sure, I don't want that in my game tonight. Going out, right? No problem. What we talk about in pregame oftentimes is like going in, bars higher. You got to earn that penalty, right? So we have to be thinking in that space between our ears and before our hands go up, with our whistle to our mouths, what's going to be the call here? Does the game need the penalty? right? And then just trying to stay consistent within your level of contact that you started out earlier in the match, allowing in the game or not, right? Because if you did call that first one and you didn't call this one, now ref's like, hey, you just called the other one. Why isn't that not a penalty?
So perfect. Perfect. Jeremy, you got us right to why we got these two clips. This one here, the referee calls a foul.
It is going in and it's outside the area.
So here we are going in, but it's against, the foul was against White. And then you have this second foul later on in the game, which in my opinion, I say looks way worse than the first one. I think you hit exactly on what the center referee was thinking of. I ain't calling a penalty kick here. That's not worthy of a penalty kick. But the problem is that because the referee called the first one, the coach is like, you're being inconsistent. People have thoughts, comments?
Don't call the first one.
So, Dallas, I think we also have to look at what game are we officiating? And I think Craig did a nice job in his contribution to this conversation, which was what level of play are you officiating? And this is a boys varsity match. And so in the first foul, I definitely agree with some of the considerations that were brought up on why it could be called a foul. I think potentially some of the body movement after the contact was in relation as a reaction to the contact. But for a varsity match, I think that is a fair challenge, shoulder to shoulder. Now, some games may already be out of control and you have to call those simple fouls to be able to clean things up. So I can understand that as well. But if you're going to call that one in the first one we looked at, then you better be prepared to and ready to call the second one, because that way you're able to bring consistency to the game. And I think sometimes officials don't think about what calls, where their bar is in the first part at the beginning of the game. And then they've got their hands tied later on in the game based on their previous decisions, and or you're going to get yelled at about your inconsistency. So those are some of the things that you got to be thinking about in regards to your first few fouls. And I always think about it, if I'm going to call this foul right now, I better be ready to call it in the penalty area. And so even as Jeremy talked about our happy zone fouls in the middle third, if I'm calling it there, I better be ready to call it in the penalty area, or someone's going to yell at me for not being consistent. Any questions on these two clips and that conversation?
Richard, so both of these occurred in the first 25 minutes of the game?
Looks like it.
Okay. And the score is already 1-1.
Looks like it. What was that? I forget what
Just putting some context around,
Yeah.
where calls and fouls and understanding where we're at in the game.
Oh, actually, it's the, I apologize. I had them in the wrong order. This one was actually the second foul in the 38th minute.
Or the counting down because it's NFH.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It would count. Yeah, I was like,
You got it
from the
right.
looks of it. Yeah.
Oh, NFHS.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Richard. KD here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I came in late at right when you started that second video, so I didn't get the context of the discussion in the first video. But I don't know if I have a question, but it's just around the word consistency. I understand what you call on white, you should also call on blue. But throughout the game, the temperate players don't play consistently, right? Coaches don't coach consistently. You as a ref need to sometimes adjust how tight or how loose you call a game based on the temperature of the match. A foul in the first half may not be a foul in the second half, depending how chippy things get or how mature the kids are in terms of handling physical contact. And you've also heard the expression, call it tight going out and loose going in. That in itself is inherently inconsistent. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because the whole concept of consistency sometimes to me is a misunderstanding that refs are always consistent, and I don't think that should be true.
I agree with you. And I think consistency does mean many things. I'm going to say that, in this example, I just showed you what we believe to be the first contact of shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
We call it a foul, and both players are still standing. Okay.
Yep.
I go to the one that happens later on in the game. Whoops, sorry. And when we get done with this challenge, both players are not standing. So I understand we can probably sit and argue about why we could maybe not call the second one still, but whatever ref is going to argue that, you have a huge perception problem by your spectators, players, and coaches.
Yeah.
Understood. No, I get it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Just wanna-
think, KD, I think your consistency you can be consistent in tightening it down, and you can be consistent still in loosening it up. But your consistency has to have a good flow for the game.
Right.
And I will tell people, there is a lot of people who talk about, anybody who starts off their pregame with, we're going to let them go and see how they're going to play, is still maturing as a ref. Because when you're ready to officiate games, you need to go in there and you've got to figure out your bar pretty quickly based on the capabilities of the players you have in front of you.
Right.
And then you need to be consistent.
Got it. I think the problem here in these two videos is the inconsistency between the two teams, right? One of them felt like they were didn't have justice because you called it on white, but you didn't call the same thing on blue. That I get between these two videos.
Yep.
And the perception problem there. Yeah.
Yeah. And just because you're getting feedback about not being consistent, I've also found that that's just a nice tool that they use, even though you are being consistent. But it's the flavor of the month feedback they're providing to every referee because it's their new word.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, let's go. Let's see here. Give me a minute. Okay, I got one more. That's right. Okay, I think we have kind of a lot going on here, so we'll play it again. Okay, everybody good there?
Can we see it one more time or just ask if it was outside the area? Did it start, the contact start outside the area?
I'll replay it for you, Elmer, so that way you can see it yourself.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to relaunch the polls, I think. Can people see the polls so they can vote if we have a foul or no foul?
Can I ask too, out of curiosity, was that, I'm assuming that yellow was dissent or something? It sounds like, looked like the player was talking back right at the end. Or are we going to talk about that?
Yep, that is what the yellow card was for.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, anybody else want to vote? Okay, we're going to end the poll. This will be good. So 56% have that as a foul and 44% don't have it as a foul. Who from the foul side would like to talk about the considerations they used to come up with a foul?
So I can share, and again, I just maybe don't have a very good connection. It's a little bit choppy, but I'm hoping the referee had a better sight. But what it looked like to me is that because the person that was attacking, I think it was the white, like it looked like his leg got tripped up, and if it was that plain and simple that the blue somehow tripped him up from behind, then that would be a foul. I think plain and simple. But I think if there was contact there, but to me it looked like there was contact where he might have clipped the left leg and it kind of went behind, and that's why he tripped. So it just depends if there actually was contact or not.
Okay, so you felt that there was lower body contact between the defender and the attacker.
Correct.
Anybody else who had a foul that had different considerations in coming to your foul conclusion? Nope. So everyone on the foul side felt there was a trip there. Okay. Those on the no foul side, what considerations did you use to get to no foul?
Richard, if no one else wants to talk, I'll offer my opinion.
Okay.
So I saw very minimal contact, if there was any, and I felt White went down too easy to potentially try to influence a call, a PK. It's right there on the borderline of that penalty area. The other consideration I had in this is if you're going to call a foul there, a careless foul, I think you also have to consider a dog so red. I don't know if there's any defenders behind him. He's going direction towards goal, likelihood to control the ball. So that's another consideration. Does the game expect a red card for that minimal contact? So that was another consideration I had.
So I was very curious, Richard, is like if you play it through to the point of contact at the top of the area and then pause it. Right there. Where is the referee?
I would say he's not within the 10 to 15 yards that I always recommend.
So one of the first things I noticed, friends, is like the speed didn't change. So when the counter starts, they're even. The referee's basically even with the ball, more or less. Maybe a yard or two behind, right? Like right here. 3 yards, 4 yards. All right. You see this going, you look up, you see this guy going, you better be hitting turbo. Because no matter what call you make from just the 39-yard line, just across the center circle, either way, no credibility. Why do I know this? Because I've done that before. And so I get I warn the feedback to understand that. So be mindful, read the play, football awareness, right? Get out there, run. No matter what happens, you're there to help sell the call. Like, hey, ref, I'm within 10 yards. Easier sell.
Does anybody have any suggestions on, okay, I'm not going to get down there to be that 10 to 15 yards from that contact at the top of the penalty box? Anybody have any other suggestions for this center ref on what maybe they could have done differently? Craig?
Yeah, as soon as the player receives the ball in the attack, you just got to go straight left. I mean, at a hard diagonal. I'm looking at the left side 20 yard mark.
Right.
And it's
So
like that
you're
needs to be
thinking,
your line. Yeah, because you're gonna so the contact between the two players, as soon as you go further left, you're gonna see the contact between the defender and the attacker clearly. And then you can make that determination from that angle. Was there enough contact? Was there an attempt? And all those other things that you're trying to make a decision. So, but just being in line with the other players, you're not seeing through. You're not able to see, and you're gonna. I mean, honestly, I know a lot of us have gotten caught where a transition happens like this, and we're trying to catch up. One of the things that we probably need to be doing in our pregame is talking to our AR. Our AR did an excellent job of keeping up with play. As soon as that play opened up, she was on a full sprint all the way down the field. And at that point, I'm going to make eye contact if I'm trailing the play, if I'm at midfield. So right here, right now, I'm going hard left. And as well, I'm still looking at the AR. I'm going to look for the AR for help. My distance is too far away. In addition to, getting feedback from her, yeah, definitely need to be a lot closer if we are or aren't blowing the whistle.
did anybody notice any upper body contact on this foul?
Looked like he turned him a little bit.
Right hand across the back.
Yep. I mean, that was my first thing. I had a foul based on the arm yanking the white player. And I think then after that, there's potential that we had some foot contact. But I think that the majority of that foul that happened there was the upper body foul of the defender yanking on the white player enough to knock him off the ball. And then he ended up falling down.
There was an assessment I was a part of last night that Ray Moffitt, so national assessor, is if there's somebody on the ground, somebody generally help them to get there. Right. And so he's like, call the foul, give the card. Right. And again, to sell it, there's a few things that need to go into that equation, but I think Katie, you're spot on, man. It's like, if we believe this to be a foul, then it's outside the area. Now it's dogs are red, right?
I think you could get with Spa. Because look where Look
Because-
what the keeper, where the keeper is.
So no dog show.
Well, it's
I think
left
you could-
defender, not keeper. So like keeper's right there. So like he's
Outside the area.
outside the area.
Richard, can you pause the video on the contact point, please?
We're on the contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the contact.
It looked like it happens at the 11-yard line, right outside the box.
Yeah, and it's like then the one thing that can get you in trouble is like you're pulling into the area, right? So he's throwing himself into the area, so it's outside.
So here's what I'll say in regards to the conversation about Dogso. If you remove the player that's making the challenge right now, is that an obvious goal scoring opportunity?
It's one-on-one versus the keeper.
Yeah, one-on-one against the keeper, he has control. That's
Yeah.
obvious.
So if you're calling a foul here, since it looks like it's outside, you'd have to get the information from your AR, since obviously the referee here is not in a good enough position to be able to make the decision of whether it's inside or outside. But once you get the information from your AR, which will likely be outside, you're looking at a red card for Dogso.
But I wouldn't think that deciding whether or not you're giving a dog so should determine whether or not you're calling a foul here.
Oh, 100% not. I'm just saying, what's the correct call?
Yeah.
So if you're calling a foul here, it's dog the red.
Okay.
What consideration would you have, Richard, for just a yellow spot?
Because I got the goalkeeper right there. I don't find it obvious with where the goalkeeper is.
Is that one of the considerations for dogs though? I mean, I'm not.
Of course.
The key, so in the IFAB laws of the game, keeper positioning is in the language.
I'd have to go through the considerations again.
So
Cameron's going to answer that for you.
I don't.
So,
I think it's more in the lane of what Cameron's asking. So or suggesting. Cameron, go ahead.
So distance to goal, which we're right at the top of the 18. Direction, we're going directly towards goal. Likelihood of maintaining possession of the ball, which is, that one is a little bit more, well, actually, no, never mind. Ignore me. Yes, yeah, it maintains possession of the ball if you remove the defender making the challenge. And defenders. There's no, that is the only one that I think Richard is focusing on, because he is correct. The only available defender in this case is the goalkeeper, who is rather close to this challenge. I think that's the only one that you could reasonably argue potentially saves this kid from getting a red card. I think if you're on an assessment, I think it's more likely that if you give a red card, you won't be challenged too heavily. I can also see, if it's on an assessment, I can very easily see you being able to sell a yellow card in this situation. So this comes down to your personality.
Remember that if you don't,
the assigner wants a red card is a different story.
sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say, remember, if you don't have all of those dog soap
Yes.
formulas, then it's not dog soap.
Right. All four of those considerations have to be met. But Cameron, the goalie has never, in terms of number of defenders, the goalie has never been a consideration, in my understanding of the laws, to be included in the number of defender calculation in terms of dogs or red. Because when you're one-on-one against a goalie, that is an obvious goal scoring opportunity. It may not end up in a goal, but it's a goal scoring opportunity. Where I think this one for Richard to maybe defend Richard a little is the third one that you mentioned, control the ball, because that ball does go straight to the keeper. But then again, if you remove that blue defender, was that a heavy touch by White or not? That's the only consideration where this may downgrade that dog so to a spa. But I disagree that a keeper is a defender in terms of consideration for dog so. One-on-one is always a goal scoring opportunity against a keeper.
It's a goal scoring opportunity, but I'm not sure I'm going to go with obvious.
Because he's right there, because of the distance, you're saying, Richard, because he's
Yeah,
also 2 yards to stop it.
Yep. It's because of the distance of the goalkeeper. The goal, yeah.
Got it.
And I think this is a fantastic example of where you could argue red card or yellow card, and an assessor or a signer would probably go with you, especially if you're in better position to make the decision. Okay. Anything else urgent on this one, or I'd like to be able to get to our last 2 clips? Okay. Next, we're going to talk about handling. So, as we remember some of our considerations here: natural position, unnatural position. Does a player attempt to avoid the ball striking their hand? Are they preventing an opponent from gaining possession of the ball by handling it? Do the player prevent a goal by deliberately handling the ball? And does the player try to deceive the referee by handling the ball? So some of our considerations here. Okay, let's see our handling for this evening. Oops. Okay. Here we go again. How many of you have a foul, and how many of you don't have a foul? Okay, you got 15 more seconds to choose. Only got 8 people so far. Okay, here we go. I've got 33% with a foul and 67% without a foul. So those that said foul, any of you willing to share your considerations and coming up with handling there? Okay, Craig.
For me, the defender, the defender lunges at the pass. So for me, as soon as that arm comes away from the body, we've made our body bigger, and that to me is handling.
Okay. So player made themselves bigger purposely to handle the ball.
Correct.
Or resulted in handling the ball.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else on who called a foul want to add to considerations that beyond what Craig said? Okay. For those of you who did not have a foul, what considerations did you use to come up with not handling? Come on, there were more of you. None of the 6 of you have your considerations?
Richard, why don't
Yep.
you tell us why you didn't call handling in that?
I did not call handling in that because the player, the defender, was reacting to the ball being about to be boot and actually has their back towards the kicker, and their arm does come up, but that was a it wasn't purposeful as much as it was natural body movement in trying to protect themselves.
Even proximity, how close was the kicker to the defender at that point?
Yeah, that's another good one, Jeremy, is the proximity of the kick to the defender.
Was it
I would
1
say a
yard?
yard to 2.
2 yards?
Yeah. Okay, Craig, I'm going to make you proud here now. Our last video of the evening.
Oh, it's blocked. Ooh.
Okay, I'll start over.
I want to see you in your glory, man. Come on.
Mhm.
It's on camera, Craig. I called handling.
First time ever for everything, right?
It was a good call.
Let's can you run it again and show distance?
Four yards, 4 yards.
Yeah, I think you got 4 or 5 yards on that one as compared to the other.
Was the back turned there too?
You know, it's interesting as I look at this, I'm shocked that I called handling. So I'll even say that for myself.
The hand was in an unnatural position, though.
It's in an unnatural possession. And I actually think this the kid I called it on was causing me other problems on the field. And this was my easy foul to call against him, is what I think I did. So I think what you know, I appreciate the coach that spent the time and sent these video clips in. I hope that all of you tonight got something out of looking at the clips and kind of being able to talk through them. And we definitely had people who came up with different answers, even though we're using the same considerations. But as you can see, even with a group of, 25 of us, we all aren't on the same page. And part of that problem is we're looking from a camera kind of far away from the field and don't have the temperature of the game. But this is what I think sometimes fuels our coaches and spectators' frustration of officiating because of inconsistency of not only within a game itself, but then between officials. So the one thing I did want to do before we completely run out of time here is talk about the tournament schedule, because as I said, it's going to be a busy summer for all. Want to just highlight a few things here. Starfire did some rearranging of their tournaments this year, and you'll see that they thought it would be fun to add a tournament the weekend of the 22nd through the 25th. But then again, Cameron, I think that's because MRFC moved theirs till mid-July instead of being the last weekend and competing with the Rainier Challenge like they used to. So the Tukwila Cup will be occurring the 28th through the 30th. The Seattle Cup, which used to be the 12th through the 14th, about that time, it doesn't look like it's happening at this point that I know of, but Starfire is going to have a cup that will compete with the Valor Cornucopia Cup. And MRFC has theirs. Valor has decided to partner with Seattle United this year, and they will have a girls what they're calling the West Coast Premier Cup, the 9th through the 11th, and then the 16th through the 19th being the weekend after, will be the boys weekend too. And that will help us compete with our own tournaments that we already had of the Extreme Cup and the River Jam Challenge. And then we do have the Labor Day Cup to end our summer tournament play. So I'll try to get this up onto the NSO website on a list, since there is so many changes. I actually know of a couple other tournaments that haven't completely been published yet. So if you think there's a weekend open in July, I think we'll be able to get that filled for you, or at least give you maybe some more options. With that, I'll stop sharing and open it up for any questions, comments tonight.
No, I appreciate these, Richard. Thank you so much. That's good. And just glad it wasn't me. It was one of my doppelgangers out there.
Well, just
Sorry.
remember, you never know when it might be you.
You never know.
On the monthly Zoom meeting. It's nice to have our clients send us footage and want to learn and understand more, and we can use it as a training tool. So I do appreciate that. I was surprised that I got to be featured this month.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, Brad?
Yeah. I think I just wanted to say that you did a great job with the clips that you chose, because honestly, I mean, you can see a potential argument for either side of basically every clip that we looked at. And I think that just speaks volumes to why knowing the specific terminology of the considerations, regardless of what your decision is, being able to back it up with the proper description and being able to articulate yourself in the best way possible to coaches is really going to save your ass. I mean, just because the generic terms of, natural position and unnatural position, terms like that are so broad that it's going to be hard to get a coach on board with stuff like that. So being able to, get into the specifics that we addressed at the beginning of this meeting will be really valuable. So yeah, I just wanted to say I thought the clips that you picked were great because it really brought up a good discussion.
Thank you, Brad. Well, I'm not going to keep us all on here any longer than necessary, so we'll call it early this evening. Thanks for participating. It was a great conversation, and hope to see you all out on the pitch soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks.
Good night.